So Module 2, Introduction to Popular Culture. Define and frame the concept of culture and popular culture. Evaluate the different cultural production in relation to popular culture. Determine the characteristic of popular culture. Determine the events that relate to the history of pop culture. Identify the categories and the influence of different sources to popular culture. So, nature of culture. We have two, abstract and physical. So, abstract or immaterial. So, that is the beliefs, norms, values, ideas, laws, and custom of the society. So, physical or material. Kumbaga, nahawakan. So, mode of dressing, arts, cuisine, crafts, games, and sport events. So, culture can be best understood by examining its structure. So, superstructure. This is a culture's worldview, such as morals and values, oftentimes grounded in religion. It involves the belief system of given society. People understand their very existence in relation to other members of the society. People understand the very existence in relation to other members of the society by observing their cultural beliefs system. Social structure. This is rule-governed relationship, including rights and obligations that hold members of a society together. Household, families, association, and power relation, as well as politics, are part of this structure. So, infrastructure. This is the economic foundation of a society, including its subsistence practices and material tools used to make a living. It refers to the livelihood of the people in the community. So that is the examining the structure of culture. So next is importance of characteristic of culture. So cultures have 5 essential characteristics. Culture is learned, culture is shared, culture is based on symbols, culture is integrated, and culture is dynamic. So culture is learned, meaning we can learn culture through our environment. So like for example from families, peers, institution, and media. So meaning we do not inherit culture. So culture is shared. Because we share culture with other members of our group, we are able to behave in social acceptable ways. So we are likewise able to predict how others will act. However, culture being shared doesn't mean culture is homogeneous. There are other subgroups subdividing the whole group with their own subculture. So culture is based on symbol, like for example, language, money. Symbols are arbitrary and differ culturally. They only gain meaning and money, with language being the most important symbolic element of culture. So symbols may not have the same meaning with different groups. So culture is integrated. Various parts of culture are interconnected. So it is interconnected. All the aspects are related, so other one another. So truly understand a culture, a person must learn about all of its parts, not only a few. So culture is a dynamic. So this means the culture interact and change. So meaning culture is flexible. So importance of culture. The importance of culture to the individual are culture distinguish man from animal, meaning we are different from animal. Although we are animal, but because of culture, we are distinguished. So, like for example, language and others' norms that is animals cannot do. So next is culture provides solution for complicated situation. Culture imparts to people set of behaviors for complex situation. Without culture, man would have been perplexed at even the most basic situation. An individual can adapt the system and routines he observes in a community. So culture provides traditional interpretation to certain situation. Through culture, man acquires traditional interpretation for various situations that determine his behavior. An example of this is the interpretation based on religious belief. So culture is shapes personality. Why? Because a child cannot develop human qualities apart from culture. It is the culture that gives opportunities for the development of personality and places limits on its growth. A child's language, expression of thoughts, friends, and place and favorite items, and even his clothes. His choices are molded by the culture where he belongs. Culture keeps social relationship intact. intact. So culture prepares individuals for group life. Group life would have been deprived, unpleasant, and brief if there has been no cultural regulation. Group solidarity rests on the foundation of culture. So next is culture creates new needs. Culture generates new needs and derives, such as thirst for knowledge. Culture arranges for the satisfaction of these new needs and drives. It also satisfies the moral and religious beliefs of the member of the group. So that is the importance of culture. So next is components of culture: symbols, language, values, norms, material culture. So what is symbol? Symbol, anything that bears a particular meaning recognized by the people who share the same culture. So the meaning of the same symbol varies from society to society, within a single society or over time. So language, a system of symbols that lets people communicate with one another. So this can be written, spoken, or both. Language is the key to cultural transmission. What is cultural transmission? It is the process by which one generation passes culture to the next generation. So through most of human history, cultural transmission has been achieved through oral tradition. So values, culturally defined standards that people use to judge desirability, goodness, and beauty. They also serve as the general guidelines for social living. Values are broad principles that underline beliefs which are statements that people hold to be true. So values is a guidelines. So next is norms. Norms, rules and expectation by which a society guides the behavior of its members. Formal norms express values as laws and regulation whose violation is strictly punished. Informal norms are those norms which are generally understood, but which may be loosely defined. Mores are widely observed and have great moral and social significance. Folkways are normals. Folkways are norms that govern everyday behaviors. So sanctions are all central mechanism of social control, the means by which social encourage conformity to norms. So that is norms. So material culture reflects a society value and technology, the knowledge that people apply to the task of living their surroundings. So example including books, buildings, physical objects that future generation can use to and understand the present generation. So that is material culture. So next is types of culture. We have 4 types of culture. High culture, popular culture, subculture, and counterculture. So what is high culture? Culture patterns that distinguish a society's elite. He, that is, he is not inherently superior to popular culture. High fashion of the metro's elite. So that is high culture. Next is popular culture. Culture patterns that are widespread among a society's population. Example, Philippine comics. That is popular culture. So next is subculture. Culture patterns that distinguish some segment of society's population that involve not only different but also hierarchy. So that is sample, hegemon as subculture. Counterculture. Culture patterns that strongly oppose those widely accepted within a society. Countercultures reject many of the standards of a dominant culture. So flip top as a counterculture. So these are types of culture. So next is the cultural concepts. Some important subcultural concepts are the following. For example, cultural change. What is cultural change? If cultures go through these different phases, then they have to change. As cultures change, they strive to maintain cultural integration. The close relationship among various elements of a cultural system. Cultural lag refers to the fact that the culture elements change at different rates, which may disrupt a cultural system. Invasion, discovery, and diffusion promote cultural change. So B is multiculturalism. What is multiculturalism? When a society is made up of multiple cultures, that society has to deal with and somehow reconcile cultural differences and conflicts. Other sources of cultural variations include race, ethnic origin, and religion. So that is multicultural. Culture relativism. It views the behavior of people from the perspective of their own culture. Ethnocentrism is the practice of judging another culture by the standards of one's own culture. Sociologists tend to discourage these practices. Instead, they advocate cultural relativism, the practice of judging a culture by its own standard. Global cultures. Some evidence suggests that global culture may be emerging. Three key factors are promoting this trend: a global economy. So, the global economy, the flow of goods. Global communication, the flow of information. And global migration, the flow of people. So, that is global culture. So, that's all. So, to sum up, the characteristic of culture has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is culture is learned, shared, based on symbol, integrated, and dynamic. So, what is the importance of culture? Culture is distinguished from man from animals. Culture provides solution for complicated situation. Culture provides traditional interpretation to a certain situation. Culture shapes personality. Culture keeps social relationship intact. Culture teaches individual a part of larger whole. Culture creates new needs. So that is the importance. So the components of culture as symbols, language, values, norms, and material culture. So types of culture: high culture, popular culture, subculture, counterculture. Cultural concept: cultural change, multiculturalism, cultural relativism, ethnocentrism, and global culture. So that's all for module 2. Thank you.